It's a time to talk. It's a time to speak truth to power and to one another. But it's also a time to recognize that we all come from a shared humanity. I come from the great privilege of having been born in northern Nigeria. I had my primary education in northern Nigeria. Of going to school in Ibadan. I like to define myself as an Ibadan boy. My secondary education in Ibadan. In fact, Dr. Olajide, who is sitting there, is my senior from Loyola College, Ibadan. And I went to University of Nigeria and Nsukka, and I'm a full, warm-blooded Igbo son. And so I come to this saying that sometimes we talk about these issues, we don't ask what is at the bottom of the Nigerian challenge. When we talk about restructuring, people sometimes get carried away about revenues, sharing, and all of that. The bottom line is that we lost the direction of leadership because we made politics a place that you can make money. And restructuring is about getting money out of politics. Anybody who wants to serve and give sacrificially of himself to elevate the life of others should come into politics. Anybody who wants to become somebody because of politics should get out of it. Yeah. This is what has brought us to this sorry pass. If it were not that problem, people are playing on ethnic sentiments to abuse the treasury. And let me give two simple examples of how emotions are overcoming our ability to understand our problems. Okwadike has just been introduced as a Harvard scholar, but I was introducing him recently to another Harvard scholar called Joshua Green. Joshua Green runs the Center for Moral Cognition at Harvard. And Joshua Green has studied the problem of human collaboration, cooperation. And combining psychology, philosophy, and neuroscience, they have come to a certain number of conclusions. And this has been outlined in the book, Moral Tribes, Reason, Emotion, and the Gap Between Us and Them. So when we raise these emotions and take out rational conversation, people who want to use that to make for their own self-interest being advanced, sometimes against the interest of those that they are arguing, ostensibly for, use those things. One simple example that I keep asking myself, why do we've been talking about headsmen creating problems everywhere. I give an example just put forward by a man who was chief economic advisor to our president only recently, Dr. Tanimu Yakubu. He served as commissioner in Katsina State. When he got to the job, he found that the biggest problem Katsina State had to do with fertilizers. Fertilizers were sucking life out of the budget of Katsina State. So he set up a little study, commissioned consultants. Farmers, what's your biggest problem? Fertilizers came to 13 in the listing. Number one was desert encroachment. What is the biggest cause of desert encroachment? Open grazing. So 20 years ago, the government of Katsina State, not the government of Enugu State, realized that the biggest problem before them was open grazing. But today, people are emotionally using it to curry whatever political power they want for their self-interest, arguing against the interest of the people that are totally trying to reject. I have made this argument again on the subject of what makes people angry about restructuring, which is revenue allocation. I don't have the time to go into local governments. How they were twice as many, two times as many in the south as they were in the north in the 60s. But once local governments became part of the fiscal transfer system, people who had power cornered so much, every village they had became a local government. Now we have 774 local governments in our country. A bulk of it belongs to a part of the country, but that part of the country has gotten poorer steadily. It proves a point that economists have studied for years. If you want, you can go and read Thomas Sowell's book on politics, wealth, and power. Revenues do not make rich. What makes rich is production. And because these people are arguing to put some revenue money in their own personal pockets, they have made a very productive part of the country poorer. This is why we must move to rational public conversation rather than emotions, which is the tragedy of the Nigerian condition. We must turn to people of intellect and knowledge to provide leadership to a country. China was flat on its belly. Nigeria's GDP per capita was twice that of China when a man called Deng Xiaoping emerged as leader of that country. If you read his speech in December of 1978 to the people of China, he said we must enthrone knowledge as the reason for making progress. Our party must put people of knowledge to lead us forward. So, unfortunately for Nigeria, the Nigerian political class has actually very sadly made knowledge seem like a bad thing. Now grammar will go chop, now theory, and our country has continued to decline because we insult knowledge. When we say that leadership is the problem of Nigeria, every speaker has said so, and there's no question about that. What is leadership? The great guru of this subject, the now late Stephen R. Covey, I've had the privilege of sharing the podium with him, says that there are two dimensions that are fundamental to leadership: knowledge and a sense of service. People who have knowledge and can sacrificially give of themselves for the advance of the common good of all, in the hope that their name will thrive in immortality, are the people who should lead. And our failure to do that in our country is what has reduced us. We must do that with fairness in mind, with equity in mind.
This might sound like an insult, but the truth is that Nigerians are not smart. We are not smart people. Mark my word, I use the word we because I want to include myself before some people will come after me. You that is talking, what have you achieved? If anytime you hear people say Nigerians are smart people, they are just talking about 1%, or if not, maybe less than 1% of Nigeria who has made us proud. If Nigeria is 250 million in population, 1% should be 2.5 million. So you can't use 2.5 million Nigerians assuming to conclude that Nigerians are smart. And the English word smart, because they say if things are not properly defined, abuse is inevitable. The English word smart is synonymous to that of wisdom. Let me explain to you. Wisdom is positive. Whenever anybody plays sense to you and the end result is negative, the person is foolish. Because opposite of wisdom is foolishness. Wisdom is positive. Foolishness is negative. But in the sense, it's called crook or crafty. Yes. So when you play sense and the end result is negative, you're a crook person or you're a crafty person. But you see, English not be our mate. It's not our language. We don't know how to define these things. That's why we'll be calling a person a crook, a wise person. We'll be calling a crafty person a smart person. Hospopi is smart now because he dupe people. You say that is a smartness. No, that is a crook. A politician will rig election and say, these are smart politicians. Instead of you to say, this is a crafty and cunning politician. This is where the problem starts from. So when I say Nigerians are not smart, check out the effect of our actions in our country. If we are smart, why is it our decisions has led us in negativity instead of positivity? Because if we are smart, the end result of our actions should be positive. It will show in our finance, it will show in our economic, it will show in our political system, it will show in every day of our life, both home and abroad. But you see, 90% of people will not understand me. Even me, I'm a victim of this thing I'm talking about, because when the election was on, I was part of those who said if Peter Obi is a good person, Nigerians should be able to rig him into power. When he gets to the power, he should do good. But I remember P2B say something, that if you want to be called His Excellency, the process in which you get to the office should be excellent. He said in his tiny voice, you cannot come through the window and start cleaning the house. The process is more important than the position you are looking for. P2B said this thing, but I never understood it until last week when I started looking into the matter in Rivers State. Yes, this is where I'm going to. You know, they will say, the Fubara is a good man, this and that. That one Wike is doing is not good. Is a lie. Fubara is a corporate. He connived with them. You can't come through the window, I want to clean the house. now it makes sense to me. Once the process that brought you to the office, once the process is not excellent, you cannot be His Excellency. That is the pure truth. You don't you see? Because now he come through the bad process and want to start dictating to the people that brought him into the process how he wants his government to run. They are still orchestrated him out. That is the truth. If the election that brought Fubaro is the people's will, the people that are persecuting him now, whether with federal might or with state might or tribal issues, they won't have the ability to do that. But as I'm talking to you now, 2027 is along the line, and even what is happening in Rivers State is part of 2027 election. Yet the people does not have sense. The people are not thinking right. Instead, they are seeing it as a tribal issue. The Jaws are seeing it that way. The Queries are seeing it that way. They are still playing it on a tribal issue instead of you to sit down and analyze the issue. The process in which you come into the power is more important than the position and power you are looking for. You can't come through the window and want to clean the house. They can't rig into power. You want to do good. It's impossible. It's impossible. According to Chizebudai Okorigo, that's what that's in there. This is why I say Nigerians are not smart. We don't think right. But you see, when we say these things, a lot of people will not understand us. See, the first call of pointers to me that made me know that we are not smart is even the definitions of things. Every politician all over the world should be your servant, not your leader. That is where we even get it first wrong, to show that we are not wise, we are not thinking right. We are not thinking right. The day we were able to redefine what politician is, the day we start calling them who they are, servant, that is the day we will have the ability to overcome them. Because you can't empower your housemaid over your wife and still expect your housemaid not to treat your wife as a subordinate. That is what is happening here. We on our own has made the politicians to look like a leader when they are supposed to be a servant. They say when things are not properly defined, abuse is inevitable. We have abused the word politicians. Instead of us to call them who they are supposed to be, we are the leaders, they are supposed to be our servants. But we have turned the table and gave them power they did not have, and they are using it against us. When the blind lead the blind, they will both fall into a ditch. The day we will start defining the positions and things in Nigeria correctly, that is the day we will start getting it right. These guys are not leaders. Calling them leader is an abuse of English word. But like I said initially, English not be our mate. It's not our language. So if we are to get it right first, we must, in every publication, start letting people know that we don't have leadership. What we are looking for are servants. Look at what is happening in Burkina Faso. Ibrahim has shown that all you need is a servant, not a leader. Because a man who came to serve is different from a man who came to lead. These guys are not our servants. But now is it their fault? No. It's we that empower them by calling them leaders. when they are supposed to be servants. Their work is to supervise where they are cleaning road. Say Minister of Environment, his work is to come and supervise where people are cleaning gutters, cleaning drainage and environment. He say he's Minister of Works, Road and Transport. His work is to go and supervise, serve, look at the things they are doing on the road. But once we have turned the table and called them servants, start using security to protect them, nobody should come close to them. Instead of you to say, hey, Oga, come here, come and see what your workers are doing. We have changed the position by ourselves, by our actions. And that is why everything is tended to negativity. Well, I hope my explanation will make sense to certain set of people. But if not, I will still try and be explaining, because I know it's not one day thing for people to understand what I'm going to, until we get it right in our medulla oblongata, the way we reason, the way we think, and apply it in our actions. We will never get it right in this country. Even if Nigeria divide tomorrow, because some certain definitions are not properly put in place, we are still going to get it wrong. Because you can't be calling your servant a leader. He will not do anything better for you. A servant is a servant. He came to serve and must be treated well. We're not saying you should not have respect for your servant. No. You must have respect and treat your mate equally. But because you know he's your mate, you will not exalt him above the position where he's supposed to be. Once you do that, you are giving him a wings to fly. I'm out of here, Joe.